Video games have been getting a bad rap lately from politicians on both sides of the aisle, trying to link it to acts of violence that have been committed by particular individuals, whether through shootings or other instances. And I think that this is completely overblown and not substantiated by the evidence whatsoever. And the problem here is that the policy solutions that politicians are pursuing might not actually achieve their end goal. And it's important that if we do want to try to address this problem, that we look at some of the underlying factors, whether that be mental health or other kinds of issues, and see where we can make bridges there into solving the problem.
Violent video games may make a convenient scapegoat, but they do not lead to violence or aggression, according to 28 different studies analyzing data gathered from more than 21,000 young people around the world. In fact, video games may actually reduce real world aggression, allowing people to channel those emotions into their gaming consoles rather than other people. According to one 2016 study, general societal violence actually decreased in the weeks after the release of popular video games. Yes, it's certainly true that several individuals who committed violent acts in the recent years have also been video game players. But considering that 67% of Americans play video games, a number that continues growing year after year, that shows no more causation than, say, arguing that owning a pet, which 67% of American households do, causes violence. Instead of looking for an easy answer, we need to address the core ideological and psychological causes of real world violence and find an actual solution to society's ills.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Millennial Minute. I'm your host, Julia Sun. Whenever there are violent shootings, video games are blamed for the atrocities. Today's hot button topic: is that true? You've already heard from our guest, James Czerniawski, a tech and innovation analyst at Libertas Institute, and joining him is Kat Murti, executive director of Feminists for Liberty. Welcome, guys.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for
having
having
me.
us.
Hey, it's great to have you. You guys seem to agree that video games are just a convenient victim. I will start with you then, Kat. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think that people don't want to address the actual real deep-seated issues that we see coming out of these violent problems. And a lot of times, you'll also hear as another convenient scapegoat, I think, mental health issues. I think that that is absolutely a part of it. But we see so many people with mental health issues who do not escalate to these violent causes as well, right? So I think the actual problem is that there are deep-seated problems within our society. There's a lot of tensions that raise out of sexual tensions between the genders, tensions to do with race and other such things. And those are very hard, difficult problems that we don't want to tackle. And it's not an easy way for us to tackle. And so pointing to something like a video game and saying that's what's causing it is just so much easier. And it's so much, politicians are able to pass a Band-Aid of, hey, here's this, and we're done, and not have to talk about what's actually causing the violence.
Well, I could think of other band-aids like violent movies or violent television shows. What do you think video games are taking so much blame instead of other form of media, James?
Well, I think it's just an easy scapegoat for politicians to point to on either side of the political aisle. It's not a surprise that the video game industry doesn't necessarily have a strong presence in DC because for a long period of time, it wasn't necessarily a major market. But over the past 10 plus years, we've really seen the video game industry kind of explode and go on this exponential growth trajectory. And this has really been exacerbated by the pandemic, where you saw record sales of consoles, and lots of people going and getting involved in video games. But the problem here is that, again, if you're not really involved in that process in DC, it's very easy. Politicians don't feel like they're beholden to you. They don't feel like they have to worry about the potential consequences of deviating and targeting your industry. So there's a lot of political motives that drive why politicians on either side of the political aisle are targeting the video game industry.
I hear that. I wanted a PlayStation, but it was sold out. Kat, then let me ask you this. I mean, there is some correlation between the rise of violent video games and the rise of gun violence in this country, but you're saying that's not what the research says.
Right. So there have been studies that have said that, but when you look at the studies as a whole, what we do see is that video games are not connected to the violence and, in fact, can actually help de-escalate violent tensions within individuals. However, obviously, as I mentioned before, video games are much more widely available now, which makes them an easy scapegoat. There's also the factor that a lot of people who do feel cut off from society, who do have a lot of difficulties getting along with society for various reasons, that could be other contributing factors that actually are the causes of this violence. Those people oftentimes might be spending more time playing video games simply because they're not a part of society on other levels. So that's kind of what's contributing to that perception, but it doesn't mean that the video games themselves are the cause.
Okay. And James, if it's not the video games, then what do you think is the root, the actual root cause of the rise in violence in this country?
I think Kat kind of pointed to it. There's a combination of factors, and I think it's hard to ignore the mental health aspect that there are definitely people that are experiencing numerous problems, either socially or psychologically, that might be attributing to why they might be more inclined to take up violent acts. But again, as Kat pointed out, there's not necessarily something that proves any kind of statistically significant proof of that violence being linked to video games. But I think it's important that when we want to look at this conversation, that we do make sure that we are aware that there are these issues that are there from a mental health aspect, and that we try to do everything that we can to provide resources and help to those people. So that way, maybe that can mitigate them from actually taking action in a future instance.
Well, you're a tech analyst. Is there anything the tech giants, tech companies, tech startups are doing to make people feel less lonely?
Well, I mean, I think this pandemic has been a huge testament to how technology can do an amazing job of connecting people all over the world. I've been gaming for the better part of 15 plus years, and I can tell you one of the biggest things that was a huge testament to why I loved games was as soon as internet was combined with the video game technology to allow for online interaction between people, it made me love video games that much more, because now I could connect with people from all over the world, learn about them, learn about their cultures, their people, and really make some amazing friends. And I've gone to conferences with random people from around the world because of video games. So there's a lot of really good social benefits that they can provide. That can, again, also help deter the aspects of giving violence, where maybe people might not necessarily fit into a normal society. Here's a group that actually understands what you're interested in and how that can actually apply. And I think that that's actually good, because it gives somebody a sense of purpose, a sense of feeling, and a sense of inclusion.
Well, I definitely feel both of you are in the same room as me, even though you're not here. So we're all connected. Thank you both for being here. And thank you for watching Millennial Minute. I'm Julia Sun. I'll see you here next time.